What if one day you were chosen to enter a journey beyond anything the human mind can imagine, to witness things not even the angels are allowed to see? Thousands of years ago, when the world was still drowning in sin, one righteous man named Enoch was called by God to ascend through the 10 heavens, from the radiant treasures of the first to the unreachable throne of the Creator himself. But what Enoch saw wasn't just heavenly glory. He witnessed terrifying visions that shook his soul. Fallen angels, cries of torment, and secrets revealed only to him. Today, you're about to join that same journey, exploring the 10 heavens, where light and shadow, justice and mercy exist side by side. From the fiery chariots of the sun to the blazing presence of God himself, these mysteries will forever change how you see the universe and your own soul. But why was Enoch, a mere mortal, chosen for such a mission? And why do the words he wrote remain a warning for us today? Watch until the end to uncover the secret that even the angels were never told. Before we begin, if you love biblical mysteries and ancient revelations, hit like and subscribe, and prepare your heart. This journey will leave you in awe and trembling. In ancient times, when the world was still shrouded in the darkness of sin, long before the great flood washed away every trace of mankind's downfall, there was one man whom the Most High looked upon with special favor. His name was Enoch, the son of Jared, a rare figure described in the Bible as one who walked with God. Genesis 5:24. He lived for 365 years, a number that symbolizes more than just age. It reflects a perfect cycle, as if each day of his life was aligned with the divine rhythm set in motion by the Creator of the universe. Enoch was not only a father, giving life to Methuselah, the ancestor of Noah, who would one day save humanity from the flood, but also a man of profound wisdom, a craftsman whose understanding surpassed the knowledge of his age. But what made him so extraordinary that he was chosen? Why, among countless souls, was Enoch the one invited to embark on a sacred journey, one that would unveil the deepest mysteries of the heavens? One fateful morning, when Enoch was 165 years old, as he rested in his humble home, an eerie sense of unease stirred deep within him. He later recounted, "I was lying on my bed, falling asleep, when a deep sorrow overcame my soul. I wept in my dream, not knowing what was happening, nor what fate awaited me. Suddenly, the stillness of the moment was shattered by the appearance of 2 enormous angels, beings whose presence defied all human understanding. They stood tall as mountains, their faces blazing like the noonday sun, eyes glowing with eternal fire, and from their lips burst sparks like living prophecies. Their garments shimmered with royal purple, their wings shone brighter than pure gold, and their hands were white as freshly fallen snow. They stood at the head of Enoch's bed, calling his name with a voice that echoed like thunder, resonating as though it pierced through both heaven and earth. Startled, Enoch awoke, his heart pounding, his body trembling with awe and fear. He described, "My face changed with fear, as though all strength had left me. But the angels, their voices both gentle and commanding, spoke to calm him. 'Enoch, do not be afraid. The eternal Lord has sent us to you. Today, you will ascend with us into the heavens to witness mysteries no man has ever seen.' Their declaration struck him like thunder, awakening every sense within him. Enoch was then instructed to leave his house and gather his sons, Methuselah, Regem, and Gaidad, to deliver his final words before embarking on a journey beyond anything the world had ever known. With a heavy heart, Enoch stood before his sons, his eyes filled with both determination and concern. He said, "My sons, I do not know where I am going or what will happen to me. But listen to me. Never turn away from the Lord, the one who created the heavens and the earth. Foolish idols will lead you to destruction, but the Lord will strengthen your hearts in reverence for Him." This farewell was not just a father's parting words, but a prophecy, a timeless warning, as if Enoch had glimpsed the future of mankind, a world filled with temptation and moral collapse. He concluded, "Do not seek me until the Lord brings me back." As Enoch stepped outside his home, the angels lifted him up on their radiant wings, as though he were a leaf carried by the wind through the layers of the sky. The earth slowly vanished beneath him, and ahead lay a new realm, where light and shadow, glory and justice intertwined. A question lingered in the air. What awaits Enoch in the heavens? And will he have the strength to face the terrifying and wondrous mysteries the Lord has prepared? As Enoch set foot on the first heaven, he felt a profound shift. From the physical world to a sacred realm where everything bore the signature of the Creator's hand. He stood atop soft clouds, looked upward, and saw the ether, an endless space shimmering with a dim, otherworldly light, like a bridge between earth and the divine. The angels guided him to a vast ocean, greater than any sea he had ever known. But this was no ordinary water. It seemed to pulse with divine life, reflecting the radiant light of God. In awe, Enoch exclaimed, "This sea is greater than all the oceans of the earth, as if it were the very source from which all earthly rivers flow." Next, he was taken to the storehouses of snow, where angels stood guard over icy treasures with absolute reverence. Massive doors opened and closed according to the will of the Lord, as if each snowflake had been counted and arranged with holy precision. The image echoed the words of God in Job 38:22-23. Have you entered the storehouses of the snow, or seen the storehouses of the hail, which I reserve for times of trouble, for days of war and battle? Enoch realized that even the simplest natural phenomena on earth originated from a divine order, one upheld by angels with shimmering wings. Then, the angels led Enoch to meet the elders and governors of the celestial orders. He witnessed 200 angels, each assigned to govern a portion of the sky, ensuring the stars moved in perfect harmony, never straying from the will of God. They soared with radiant wings, circling ships upon the seas, as if watching over sailors guided by the stars. Enoch described, "They come to those who sail, with wings that shine like fire, as if they are the light that leads through darkness." This vision revealed not only God's care for His creation, but a profound truth. Every element of the universe, from the tiniest star to the softest breeze, is part of His grand and sovereign design. Enoch also beheld storehouses of oil like olive oil, shaped like every kind of flower found on earth, glowing with gentle light and filling the air with sweet fragrance. These treasures were guarded by multitudes of angels, each so beautiful, they seemed to embody the very essence of perfection. In awe, Enoch exclaimed, "How wondrous it is that everything here is made with such precision and indescribable beauty." The first heaven was a reminder that the cosmos is no accident. It is a divine symphony, where every note, from falling snow to distant starlight, sings praises to the Creator. But as Enoch prepared to ascend to the next heaven, he sensed a shift. The radiant light would give way to shadow, and new mysteries were waiting. As Enoch entered the second heaven, the air grew heavy, as though the light of the first heaven had been swallowed by endless darkness. He described, "I saw a darkness greater than any found on earth, where angels were suspended in waiting, awaiting the great and boundless judgment of the Lord. These angels, once glorious beings of heaven, now bore faces of sorrow, their eyes filled with anguish, and their cries echoed without end through the hours. They were the rebels of God, angels who refused to obey His commands, choosing pride and self-will instead. The guiding angels explained, they followed their prince, who is imprisoned in the fifth heaven, and this is the punishment for their betrayal. This vision echoed the story in Genesis 6:1-4, where the sons of God took human wives and fathered the Nephilim, giants who spread chaos and sin upon the earth. Filled with compassion, Enoch looked upon their suffering and cried out, "Why must they endure this endless torment? Is there no hope for those who once stood before the throne of God?" But the angels responded with stern voices. They chose the path of rebellion, and the justice of the Lord cannot be moved. In their despair, the fallen angels turned to Enoch and pleaded, "O man of God, pray for us before the Lord." The request shook Enoch to his core, yet he recognized the limits of his humanity. He replied humbly, "Who am I, a mortal man, to pray for angels? And who will pray for me when I stand before the judgment of God?" His answer reflected not only humility, but a deeper truth. Even celestial beings, those once full of glory and power, are not exempt from the consequences of sin. The second heaven stood as a chilling warning about the severity of God's justice. It reminded us that pride, disobedience, and betrayal lead to eternal isolation, even in the heavenly realm. As Enoch departed from that place, his heart was heavy, but he knew his journey was far from over. Would the next heaven offer light and hope, or unveil even more terrifying mysteries? As the angels led Enoch into the third heaven, he felt a miraculous transformation. The darkness of the second heaven gave way to radiant light, and before him stretched a paradise overflowing with life and beauty. He described, "I looked down and saw creations never known before, with goodness beyond all imagination. At the center of this paradise stood the tree of life, where the Lord Himself rests when He visits this realm. This tree was unlike anything on earth. It shimmered like gold, glowed red like crimson, and burned like fire. It bore every kind of fruit, as though it embodied eternal abundance." In awe, Enoch exclaimed, "This tree is more beautiful than anything that exists, and its fragrance delights the soul." Surrounding the tree of life, Enoch saw 2 springs that flowed into 4 sacred liquids: honey, milk, oil, and wine. These streams divided into 4 branches, circling the Edenic paradise, positioned between corruption and incorruption. This image echoed Genesis 2:10-14, where 4 rivers flowed from the Garden of Eden. Yet here, they were of a holier nature, as though they were the lifeblood of the entire universe. Enoch also beheld 300 radiant angels, whose sweet voices filled the air with unending praise to the Lord, day and night. Their music, as Enoch described it, cannot be expressed in words. It overwhelms the mind with wonder. The guiding angels said to Enoch, "O Enoch, this place has been prepared for the righteous. Those who endure insults, reject injustice, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, lift up the fallen, and walk blameless before the Lord." This explanation was not merely a description. It was a powerful call. Paradise is not just a place of beauty, but a reward for those who live according to God's will, despite every trial. But Enoch was also led to a darker corner of this heaven, where he saw a dreadful place, filled with blazing fire, bone-chilling frost, and terrifying angels armed with weapons of wrath. The angels explained, This is the place for those who offend the Lord, those who commit unnatural acts, practice sorcery, steal, murder, and worship lifeless idols. The contrast between the paradise of the righteous and this place of punishment offered a clear message. The path of righteousness leads to eternal glory, while sin leads to destruction. Enoch left the third heaven with a heart full of conflicting emotions: hope from the beauty of paradise and fear from the unshakable justice of God. Yet the greater question remained: what will the next heavens reveal? Will Enoch have the courage to face even greater glory or even deeper mysteries? As Enoch was lifted into the fourth heaven by the angels, he felt a surge of energy, as if he had stepped into the very heart of the universe, where time and light are shaped by the supreme will of the Creator. Before him, the sun and moon were not merely celestial bodies lighting the sky, but living symbols of God's power, moving in a sacred, perfectly timed dance. Enoch described in awe, "I measured the movements of the sun and the moon, saw their rays, and realized that the sun's light far surpassed the moon's, like a king compared to a servant. He stood before 6 great gates in the east, from which the sun begins its daily journey. Each gate was measured with absolute precision, 61 stadia and a quarter, like the doors of an eternal palace, designed to regulate the cycles of seasons, months, and hours. The sun, as Enoch observed, was a masterpiece of creation, not merely a fire in the sky, but a blazing chariot accompanied by 4 great stars, each leading 1,000 smaller ones, totaling 8,000 in a shimmering escort like precious gems. By day, 150,000 angels served the sun, ensuring its light spread across the earth. By night, 1,000 winged angels entered the sun's flame, rekindling it for the coming dawn. Enoch marveled. The sun moves with the swiftness of the wind, never resting, day or night. It circles beneath the earth, carrying its light, and returns to the east in the 8th hour of the night, blazing more fiercely than fire itself. This image recalls Psalm 19, verses 4 to 6, where the sun is described as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, rejoicing to run his course. What astonished Enoch more than anything was the appearance of marvelous creatures known as the phoenixes and Kalkadri. They were unlike any beings on earth, with towering bodies, 900 cubits tall, and hybrid forms, feet and tails like lions, heads resembling crocodiles, and radiant bodies that shimmered like rainbows after a storm. Each creature had 12 pairs of wings, like the angels, and they accompanied the sun, carrying both heat and holy mist according to God's command. Enoch exclaimed, "They are wondrous, as if forged from the light of heaven and the fire of glory." These beings were not merely guardians of the sun, but symbols of divine harmony, where every element, celestial or living, obeys the will of the Creator. Enoch was also taken to the western gates, where the sun sets, withdrawing its light and descending beneath the earth for 7 hours of the night. He saw 400 angels guarding the sun's shining crown, ensuring it remained protected in the heavens. The angels explained, "This is how God governs time, so that the seasons, months, and hours of day and night are fulfilled in perfect order." Enoch also observed the moon, with 12 separate gates, each corresponding to a time cycle ranging from 28 to 31 days, forming a lunar year of 354 days, 12 days shorter than the solar year. This difference, the angels explained, was part of a greater plan, in which the great circle of time spans 532 years. The fourth heaven was a testament to God's absolute precision, where the sun and moon are not merely lights, but living witnesses to His power and wisdom. Yet as Enoch prepared to ascend to the next heaven, he sensed a shift in the air. Would he behold radiant glory or a shadow full of mystery? As the angels led Enoch into the fifth heaven, he felt a terrifying stillness settle over everything, as if the very space had been drained of sound and light. Before him stood countless angelic warriors known as the Grigori, beings that looked human in form, yet far surpassed even the mightiest giants on earth. Enoch described in astonishment, "They were greater than the great giants, yet their faces were withered like dry leaves, their mouths forever silent, and there was no worship in this place." The fifth heaven was cold, lacking the radiant light of the previous realms, and no songs of praise to God echoed here. With a heart full of questions and quiet unease, Enoch turned to his guiding angels and asked, "Why do these beings wear such sorrowful faces, and why is this heaven so dreadfully silent?" The angels answered in a somber tone, as if recounting an ancient tragedy. "These are the Grigori, those who once stood before the throne of God, but who betrayed him alongside their prince, Satanael." They explained that many of the Grigori, driven by pride and desire, left heaven and descended to earth at the place called Mount Hermon. There, they were captivated by the beauty of the daughters of men, breaking their sacred oath, taking wives, and fathering the giants known as the Nephilim, creatures who brought chaos and sin into the world. This story is echoed in Genesis 6:1-4, where the sons of God joined with humans, leading to such great corruption that the Lord sent the great flood to cleanse the earth. Enoch saw the deep remorse etched into the faces of the Grigori, as if they bore a burden that could never be lifted. Enoch, moved by the compassion of a mortal heart, could no longer hold back his emotion. He spoke to the Grigori, "I have seen your brethren, those who suffer beneath the earth. I have prayed for them, but the Lord has judged them until the end of heaven and earth." He pleaded with urgency, "Why do you wait without returning to serve before the Lord? Set your hearts before him, lest you provoke his full wrath." His words rang out as a final call, but the Grigori responded only with painful silence. Suddenly, 4 trumpets sounded from the 4 corners of the heavens, and the Grigori raised their voices in unison. Yet their song was not one of praise or glory. It was a lament, heavy with regret and sorrow. Enoch described it. Their singing rose before the Lord, but it was pitiful, like the weeping of lost souls. The fifth heaven stood as a profound warning about the cost of pride and betrayal. Even angels, once radiant beings in the presence of God, could not escape his justice. Enoch departed this realm with a heart weighed down. Yet he knew his journey was far from over. He wondered, will the next heaven bring light and hope, or an even deeper mystery within the plan of the Lord? When Enoch was brought into the sixth heaven, he was overwhelmed by a radiant light, as though he stood before an endless ocean of divine brilliance. Before him were 7 groups of angels, each more dazzling than the sun, their faces shining like eternal flames. They did not differ in appearance, behavior, or attire, as if they formed one unified being, serving God with perfect harmony. Enoch spoke with awe. These are the angels who govern the stars, the phases of the moon, the orbit of the sun, and the well-ordered function of the world. Their music rose without end, sweet and powerful voices that astonished the mind, making Enoch feel as though he stood before a heavenly choir, where every note was a praise to God. These angels, known as archangels, held sacred duties. They measured all life in heaven and on earth, from the movements of the stars to every breath of mankind. Enoch saw them writing in holy scrolls, recording every soul of man, every deed, and the course of every life before the Lord. The image echoed Revelation 20:12, where the books are opened on the day of judgment and all are judged according to their works. Enoch realized that no action, no matter how small, escapes the eyes of God. He marveled at the precision of the angels. They know every star, every drop of water, and every blade of grass on the earth. Enoch also saw angels assigned to oversee the seasons and years, the rivers and seas, every plant, and even the food for every living creature. He described, "They care for every detail of creation, from the blooming of a flower to the flowing of a river." Among them were 6 phoenixes, 6 cherubim, and 6 six-winged beings, all singing an unceasing song of praise to the Lord. Their music, as Enoch described, is beyond human expression, as if woven from the light and love of God. The 6th heaven stood as a testament to God's meticulous care for creation. Everything in the universe, from the motion of stars to the life of a single blade of grass, is sustained by these angels in accordance with His will. Enoch exclaimed, "How wondrous it is that all things are arranged with such precision and love." But as he prepared to leave this heaven, he sensed that his journey was drawing nearer to the very throne of God. The greater question still lingered. Will the next heaven bring him closer to ultimate glory, or confront him with mysteries so great they make the heart tremble? When Enoch was lifted into the 7th heaven by the angels, he was overwhelmed by a blinding light, as though the entire universe had merged into one radiant ocean, far beyond any light he had ever seen. This realm was no longer a physical domain, but a place of glory, where all things reflected the supreme power of the Creator. Enoch described with trembling, "I saw a great light, and the blazing armies of the archangels, the invisible forces, the powers, and the thrones. Before him stood cherubim and seraphim, many-eyed beings shimmering like eternal flames, gathered around a majestic throne radiating unapproachable light." Though he had witnessed countless wonders in the heavens before, Enoch could not suppress his fear. He recalled, "I became afraid and began to tremble with terror, as though all strength had melted away within me before the greatness of this place." The guiding angels, their voices gentle yet filled with authority, reassured him, "O Enoch, do not fear. Be courageous, for the Lord has permitted you to stand here." They led him closer and showed him the Lord from afar, enthroned in glory, surrounded by boundless light, as though he were the very center of all life and majesty. This vision echoes Isaiah 6:1-3, where the prophet saw the Lord seated on a high throne, and the seraphim cried out, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord." The angels in the 7th heaven, known as the many-eyed hosts, sang unceasing hymns of praise to God. Their voices were soft yet resonant, as if every note carried the sacred essence of heaven. Enoch described, "They stand before the throne, never leaving it, fulfilling the will of God and covering His throne with their wings." The presence of cherubim, seraphim, and thrones was not merely a symbol of power, but a reminder that all things in the universe, whether angel or human, must bow before the Lord. Standing before this vision, Enoch felt smaller than ever before, yet deeply honored to be granted the privilege of witnessing the glory of the Most High. And yet, the 7th heaven was only a threshold. The angels said to Enoch, "This is not the end of your journey, O Enoch. Prepare yourself, for the higher heavens will bring you closer to the Lord Himself." A question lingered in Enoch's mind. Do I have the strength to face even greater mysteries? Or will the glory of God surpass the limits of mortal understanding? From the 7th heaven, Enoch was taken up into the 8th heaven, known in Hebrew as Muzaloth, meaning the place of seasonal change. The atmosphere here was delicate and refined, as though time and space had merged into an invisible symphony. Enoch described, "I saw the place that governs the seasons, from dry to wet, and the constellations in the circle of the heavens. This heaven was the center of all climate and weather shifts, where spring, summer, autumn, and winter were orchestrated according to the will of God." Enoch realized that every rainfall, every gust of wind, and every ray of sunlight on earth originated from here, directed by angels with absolute precision. The angels explained, "O Enoch, Muzaloth is where God has established the laws for time and weather, so that the earth may be nourished and mankind may live." Enoch was in awe of the harmony in this realm, where every element of nature moved in unity, like a grand orchestra conducted by the unseen hand of the Lord. This vision echoes Job 38:33, where God asks, "Do you know the laws of the heavens? Can you set up God's dominion over the earth?" The eighth heaven is a reminder that even the simplest natural phenomena are manifestations of the Creator's power and wisdom. Next, Enoch was taken into the ninth heaven, called Kuchavim, meaning the house of the stars. There, he saw the 12 constellations of the zodiac, shining like precious jewels in the heavenly sky. Each constellation was placed in its own chamber, guarded by angels, as if they were gemstones in the crown of God. Enoch described, "They shone brightly, as though forged from the light of heaven, and each constellation carried a story of creation." The angels explained that these constellations were not merely signs in the sky, but sacred symbols marking the passage of time and the divine design behind God's plan for the universe. The eighth and ninth heavens, though not as dazzling as the seventh, held a tranquil beauty, as if they formed the foundation of harmony across all creation. Enoch felt a deep connection between heaven and earth, where seasons and stars served not only physical purposes, but also stood as constant reminders of God's presence in every part of life. But as he prepared to leave the ninth heaven, the angel said to him, "O Enoch, prepare yourself, for the next heaven will bring you before the face of God." Enoch's heart filled with holy fear. Can a mortal such as I stand before the supreme glory of the Creator? When Enoch was brought into the 10th heaven, called Aravoth in Hebrew, he felt he had crossed beyond every boundary of human understanding. This was the highest realm, the dwelling place of God Himself, and it was flooded with an unbearable light, as though it were the very source of all light in the universe. Enoch described with trembling, "I saw the face of the Lord, like iron glowing in a furnace, shooting forth sparks and burning with fire." The face of God was indescribable, both terrifying and wondrous, causing Enoch to fall to his knees, unable to lift his head. Surrounding God's throne were cherubim, seraphim, and many-eyed beings singing a holy hymn. "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is filled with His glory." The throne of God, as Enoch described, was not made by human hands, but was a masterpiece beyond imagination. It was encircled by thousands of angels, each standing upon one of the 10 heavenly levels, bowing in reverence and singing praises in voices gentle and soft. Enoch felt himself swept into a whirlwind of light and music, where all his senses were overwhelmed by the presence of the Almighty. In his heart he cried, "Who am I, a mortal man, to stand before such indescribable majesty?" Suddenly, the archangel Gabriel appeared and lifted Enoch like a leaf carried by the wind, placing him before the face of the Lord. God spoke to him, "O Enoch, do not be afraid. Stand before me forever." These words, like a warm light, swept away the fear in Enoch's heart. Then the archangel Michael was sent by God to remove Enoch's earthly garments anoint him with the sweet oil of the Lord, and clothe him in a robe of glory. Enoch described, "That oil shone brighter than great light, like a gentle dew. And when I looked upon myself, I saw that I resembled one of God's glorious beings." This transformation was not merely ceremonial. It was a spiritual elevation, drawing Enoch from mortal form into a state nearer to heavenly holiness. The image echoes Psalm 104, 1-2, where God is described as clothed in light as with a garment. Now bearing the likeness of the Creator, Enoch felt a profound connection to God, and at the same time, a deep awareness of the great responsibility that awaited him. Would this divine mission prove too great for a man to bear? Or would it become a gift for all of humankind? In the presence of God, Enoch was entrusted with a mission beyond all imagination. God summoned one of the archangels, Pravwil, whose mind was swifter than any other, and commanded, "Bring forth the books from my treasury, and give Enoch a swift writing pen." Pravil obeyed, bringing forth sacred scrolls, and Enoch began to write. For 30 days and 30 nights, he recorded every secret of the heavens, the earth, and the sea. From the movements of the stars, the thunder in the sky, to the lives and deeds of every human soul. Enoch described, "I wrote 366 books, recording everything God wanted me to know, from the smallest details to the greatest mysteries of creation." Then God said to Enoch, "O Enoch, all that you see, whether at rest or in motion, I have told you before anything was made. I walked among the invisible things, like the sun from east to west. Yet even the sun has rest. But I do not, for I am creating all things." These words revealed a profound truth. God had shared with Enoch secrets not even known to the angels, from the origin of creation to his eternal design. With humility, Enoch bowed before God and cried, "Who am I to receive this privilege, to know mysteries never before heard in heaven?" Enoch's mission was not merely to record, but to pass these revelations on to future generations. His scrolls were both a warning and a promise, a reminder of God's justice, the reward of the righteous, and the consequence of sin. Enoch understood he was not just a witness, but a messenger, chosen to bring the light of heaven down to earth. He departed the 10th heaven with a heart full of awe and purpose, knowing that what he had written would change how humanity views God and their own destiny. The message from the 10th heaven echoes as a timeless call. The Lord reigns supreme over all heavens and earth. What Enoch saw is an invitation for us to walk in righteousness, so that one day we too may stand before his throne. Yet the final question remains. Will we choose the path to eternal glory, or let our hearts wander into the shadows of sin? Enoch's journey through the 10 heavens has come to an end, but the message he brought back still echoes across the ages. From the shining treasures of the first heaven to the blazing throne of God in the 10th, Enoch witnessed the majesty of the Creator, the unwavering justice reserved for the rebellious, and the eternal reward granted to the righteous. He was not just a witness, but a messenger, chosen to record the hidden mysteries of heaven and deliver them to us as a warning, a promise, and an invitation to walk in holy reverence. The question for each of us today is this: which path will you choose? Will you walk in the light of righteousness, like those who have been prepared a place in the paradise of God? Or will you let your heart be lost in the shadows of sin, like the fallen angels Enoch once beheld? The books of Enoch are not merely the tale of one man. They are a reminder that every action, every decision we make is recorded before the face of God. May this journey awaken your soul, draw you nearer to the Creator, and one day May you too stand before his throne, clothed in glory like Enoch. If this journey moved you, please like the video, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel for more biblical mysteries and spiritual insight. We are committed to bringing you stories that inspire faith and ignite wonder. Thank you for joining us through the 10 heavens of Enoch. May the Lord guide you in the path of righteousness. And until our next journey together, Shalom.